If Russia were to launch an attack on NATO territory, it would likely begin here, a narrow 40-mile stretch of land connecting Poland and Lithuania. This corridor, known as the Suwałki Gap, is one of NATO's most vulnerable points, separating two Russian military strongholds, the heavily armed exclave of Kaliningrad and Russia's closest ally, Belarus. This strip of land is the only direct link between the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia, and the rest of NATO. If Russia were to strike, analysts believe an attack would come from both sides. Russian forces advancing from Kaliningrad and Belarus, effectively cutting off the Baltics from Allied reinforcements. A move like this wouldn't just be a regional conflict. It would force NATO's nuclear-armed members into a direct standoff with Moscow, pushing the world to the brink of a global war. Kaliningrad, a Russian exclave between Poland and Lithuania, has been a geopolitical flashpoint since the Soviet Union collapse. Once part of East Prussia and formerly known as Königsberg, it became Soviet territory after World War II and remains one of Russia's most strategic military assets today. Unlike other Russian Baltic ports, Kaliningrad is ice-free year-round, making it a vital naval base. It houses the Russian Baltic Fleet, including warships, submarines, and squadrons of Su-30SM and MiG-31 fighter jets. Nearly 20,000 troops of the 11th Army Corps, backed by tanks and artillery, form a powerful defensive force. The airspace is shielded by S-400 systems, while Iskander-M missiles, capable of carrying nuclear warheads, can strike up to 500 km deep into European territory. This makes Kaliningrad a major threat to NATO's eastern flank. To the east, Belarus serves as an extension of Russian power. In 2022, 30,000 Russian troops were stationed there for the Ukraine war, though numbers have since decreased to 1,000. However, Belarus continues to facilitate joint military exercises with Russia near NATO borders, raising concerns that it could serve as a launching pad for further Russian aggression. For NATO, defending the Baltics means reinforcing them through Poland. But only two highways and a single railway connect Poland to Lithuania, making the Suwałki Gap a logistical challenge. NATO has responded by stationing multinational battle groups in the Baltic countries and Poland under its enhanced forward presence strategy. Each battle group, consisting of several thousand troops, is integrated into the host nation's military, led by the UK and Estonia, Canada and Latvia, Germany and Lithuania, and the US and Poland. This deployment signals that any attack on the Baltics would trigger NATO's Collective Defense Clause, Article 5. In theory, an attack on Lithuania or Poland would bring NATO, from France to Turkey, to the US into war. One of NATO's key responses has been Germany's plan to station a 5,000-strong brigade in Lithuania by 2027. Its first long-term foreign deployment since World War II. Part of Germany's Zeitenwende initiative, a sweeping military modernization effort, this commitment includes advanced military equipment like the Leopard 2A6 tanks, strengthening NATO's eastern defenses. Poland, now the region's strongest military force, is rapidly modernizing. It has acquired F-35 fighter jets, HIMARS rocket systems and new tanks. The Eastern Shield program aims to fortify its borders with Belarus and Kaliningrad through barriers and surveillance. Additionally, Poland plans to expand its military from 120,000 to 300,000 by 2035. If Russia ever moves on the Suwałki Gap, Poland will be a decisive force in the battle. The biggest shift in the region came with Sweden and Finland joining NATO, effectively turning the Baltic Sea into a NATO lake. With new allied bases, warships, and air defenses along the coast, Russia's strategic position has weakened. Finland brings 280,000 troops and advanced military assets, including Leopard 2A6 tanks and artillery. Sweden boosts NATO's naval and air power with Jas-39 Gripen fighter jets and modern warships. Kaliningrad, once a major Russian asset, is now encircled by NATO, much like West Berlin was during the Cold War. With NATO reinforcing the region and Russia maintaining a strong military presence, the Suwałki Gap remains a flashpoint. A full-scale invasion is unlikely, but in times of crisis, this corridor could be the first battleground in a broader conflict between Russia and the West. The real question isn't just whether NATO can defend the Suwałki Gap, it's whether it will. If you want to understand why Russia is willing to risk so much at NATO's doorstep, check out my previous video. It dives into the deeper strategy behind the invasion of Ukraine and the geographic trap that's haunted Russia for centuries. Just click the link on the screen or in the comments.